Pledge allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask the board members to please introduce themselves, starting on the right.
Mike Lamoth. Orlando Calfee, Board of Finance. Mike Curie, Board of Finance.
Jody Zills-Gagney, City Council.
Ron Burns, Board of Finance.
Anthony D'Amato, City Council.
Cheryl Tebow, Board of Finance.
Dave Mills, City Council.
Dave Proleski, City Council, District 2.
Calvin Brown, City Council, District 1.
Mary Fortier, City Council, District 3. Councilor Therese Fatt.
Assistant John LaBella.
Mayor Ken Cucky. Item number 1.
Approval of minutes of the regular joint board meeting on April 12th, 2016, and the joint board workshop on March 7th, 2016.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 2.
The consent calendar, and there are 8 items. 2A is to make an additional appropriation of $225 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund funded by donations for the CERT team. 2B is to make an additional appropriation of $324,536 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund for Code Enforcement. 2C is to transfer $5,200 within the Parks operating budget for water sewer expenses. 2D is to make an additional appropriation of $161,909 within the Capital Projects School Fund for the installation of new preschool playgrounds funded by grant revenue. 2E is to make an additional appropriation of $100,000 within Special Grants and Donations Fund for Bristol Central High School funded by grant revenue. 2F is to make an additional appropriation of $5,000 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund to create a PUSH program funded by grant revenue. 2G is to make an additional appropriation of $178,861 within the Special Education Grant Fund for technology funded by grant revenue. And 2H is to make an additional appropriation of $20,000 within the Special Education Grant Fund funded by grant revenue.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 3.
To transfer $140,000 within the Public Works operating budget for the purchase of an asphalt recycler.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 4.
To transfer $10,000 from the general fund contingency account to operating transfers out special revenue.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.
To make an additional appropriation of $40,000 within the Special Grants and Donations Fund for the 2016 Distracted Driving High Visibility Enforcement Grant.
Move.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6.
To transfer $125,010 from the general fund contingency account to the demolition account for 1008 Stafford Avenue and 132 George Street.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
You're on the discussion. 132 George Street, is that where the fire occurred several
Yes.
weeks ago? Okay. Understood.
And so it wasn't the Safford Ave. That's why we didn't take it out of code enforcement.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Let me also go back to that. We're going to get back that money through the insurance.
Right,
They were taking out emergency.
right.
Item number 7.
Is the monthly revenue and expense report, presentation by the controller.
Good evening, Mayor and joint board members. 2 items. In the current budget, we're doing fine. Revenues are coming in as expected. Expenditures are under control, and mostly in part because of the type of winter that we've had. So there's no major concerns, and tax collections are doing fine. But there is a concern with regards to, if you've seen the paper this morning, the headlines with regards to the state budget and how it affects municipalities. And it has affected Bristol just like it has every other municipality. The Board of Finance on April 26th approved a budget mill rate of 1.42 mill increase. And since that time, the budget numbers have been released. Matter of fact, the budget was released this afternoon, I understand. And we've had a little bit more damage to that budget in about $1,276,000, all on the revenue side and all on the city side, not affecting the education. So there has to be a modification to the adopted budget of the Board of Finance. We have some suggestions just to point out, just to talk about this a little bit. It's $1,276,000 additional hit since the 26th. We're, excuse me, we're proposing to split that effect, and half of it would hit the budget. We have several items that we'll give to you on handout and show you, basically hitting the going back to the public works, snow and roads and fleet. And there was a $275,000, you recall, Madam Chairwoman. Probably have to go back to reduce those numbers, in addition to economic development, some OPEB monies that we wanted to catch up on. We'll probably reverse that action. And also probably recommend to you a reversal of the $100,000 that was earmarked for capital for the Board of Education. And then that's half of the amount, and then the other half would be mill rate. So we would be going from 1.42 mils to 1.60 mils, and so the option is either reduce further on the city side, which I would not recommend because it would be going pretty deep into city services. This will, if we do a 50-50, the city services will be sustained. It won't be really difficult to do so. But obviously, if we didn't do that, then the mill rate would go from 1.6 mil increase to a 1.8. And that's getting a little deep. So we've heard this afternoon that that's the number. However, as you've heard in the past, and seen in the past, that's the budget, but there can be implementer bills at the last second, and that could change things. So this is what we're seeing at this point in time. And we'll know probably a little bit further by Thursday whether we recommend to the mayor to extend the emergency services and delay the adoption of the budget on Monday. I'm guessing at this point that's highly probable because we just don't know the numbers. And I'm seeing in other communities that other communities like us are taking the worst case scenario. They're budgeting for the loss of revenues, not expecting the budget adoption which will probably be next Wednesday or Thursday, to put back any of those revenues. So at this point in time, it's very difficult. I met with the mayor yesterday, Mayor, with Betts, and it's not good news, obviously, for this year. But what's equally important, we need to keep in our thoughts, is he's telling us next year is going to be worse, because the revenues are not just coming in from the income tax to those, you probably read in the paper, for the wealthier residents down in Fairfield County, the top 50, and there's about a $250 million loss, and that's going to be compounded into the next couple of years. So next year is probably going to be a more difficult year than this year. Fortunately, the good thing is that our finances are in order. I mean, we are not in a position that, at this point, that we have to dig into our fund balances. As a matter of fact, we've eliminated the use of our fund balance, and that's the first time in probably, I've been here 18 years, and it's probably been longer than that, and that'll be a very big plus for us when we entertain the rating agencies coming up here in the spring, probably April or May-ish, around that time. I suspect that we will end this fiscal year with a surplus. That's another big positive. The city of Middletown last month received a AAA rating. So even though we don't have the waterfront that they do, nevertheless, we have some of the complexity that they do as far as the housing stock in the downtown and things like that. So I would anticipate that we'll be in the running for something if we can keep everything positive and next year keep the services safe while trying to have only a moderate increase in taxes once again. But it's a difficult shell game.
Let me add that I spent half the day today at CCM at their meeting, and the 1.2 we're anticipating to go up.
You are?
Our loss, yes, that's what we're starting at, and we're anticipating through the implementer bill, a lot of things change, so it's not looking good for the state budget and trickling down to all the communities, not just Bristol.
I suspect then under that case that we're going to probably have to have some type of workshop with the board, because what I just proposed, the split, is at the 1.2 level, but I don't have the power of the vote. I just suggest to you, but if it goes deeper than that, we got to have a conversation.
Through the chair. Pardon me, after you, Cheryl.
Thank you. At this point, where everything's still, the dust hasn't settled,
No.
I would think it would be wise that we postpone the budget adoption for next week and do have that workshop. We would appreciate you sending out what you have so that we can absorb that and come up with a new budget recommendation for joint board. There's, I don't want to do it on the back of an envelope, and I don't want to do it just by looking through emails, so
Sure.
we need to have another workshop.
Yeah, I think we do. I think that's right. So I know that the city clerk has to have the notice, and if everyone agrees, then I think absolutely, I think we should postpone that adoption Monday night. We'll talk about it, Mayor, and we'll set a workshop up, and I'll speak with you during between now and the end of the week of
Okay.
what's best for all the members. We'll poll the Board of Finance members to see who's available at what
Through the
time.
chair, a couple questions for you, Glenn.
Sure.
First one is an easy one. Can you give me that potential mill rate again? Did you say 1.6?
Yes, 1.6 from the adopted rate of 1.42.
Right, got it.
The split of taking 655,000 of expenditure cuts left a mill rate increase of 0.18.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then obviously, if we're going to go a little bit deeper, Board of Finance has got to figure out
More to discuss.
which way they want to go on this split.
Now,
all or
following
nothing.
up on that, Glenn,
Yep.
would it be possible to include the city council in this workshop that you're discussing, since we're all going to have to vote on the final budget adoption?
Not only possible, it'll be required. I'll make sure you receive everything that we distribute.
Great, so it can be a joint board workshop?
I don't know about that. It's the Board of Finance responsibility to adopt the budget and revise, so I'll have to.
Chairman Tebow, could it be a joint board
You're
workshop?
welcome to attend. We'll take, we'll give you time to address the Board of Finance, but the vote comes down to what the Board of Finance wants to do as far as the budget goes.
Okay,
But we prefer it to be that way, just so that if you have specific questions that you want to ask, if you would forward them through me, but we'll give you time to, comment.
so you'll give us time to comment at the workshop?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Glenn.
Well, I was going to say that all my comments have been referenced to the city side of the budget, and obviously not to the Board of Education
Right.
side. So if there was any change to that, obviously that would be a direct increase to the mill rate and nothing else,
Right.
if it's an increase. Yeah. See, what other question you were going to ask?
I was going to actually ask about the Board of Ed funding and where we stand right now. So everything that we just talked about aside, right now, we're from the Board of Ed's original request
Yes.
for a 4.47 increase.
Yes.
We're giving them a 3.2% increase, is that right?
Oh,
Or close?
I don't know the percentages. I'm not.
We only know the dollars.
Okay, that's fine. Talk to me in dollars. Their original request was a 4.7
4.7 million.
million, and we're so far,
And we gave them, well, I can say we.
Right.
I recommended 1,540,000.
I got that.
And then as a final, on the 26th, there was an increase of 310,000. Is that correct, Shows, if I recall?
Well, to MBR, but
To MBR.
there is another increase by moving other funds over.
Right. So
Oh, it was like
total,
800,000, was it?
Robin has the number.
I don't have the number, like, I was trying to add to it though.
I can pull up my email real quick.
I want to give you the right number. It was
Focused so much on the city side, kind of forgot about the board of ed side.
right.
So there was the number that the Board of Ed adopted, or that the Board of Finance adopted was $310,000 increase to MBR
No, yeah.
and 2.8 rough million in revenues that we were going to transfer from the city side of the budget to the Board of Ed
So
side of the budget.
3.1 million.
So they get 3.1 million.
So the request was 4.7 million, and we're at 3.1 million.
And one point I want to just clarify is they were at 4.7 million, but then they had $578,000 in healthcare savings to bring their new request down to about 4.2.
4.2.
So they're
Great.
only being
Great.
shorted about a million.
About $1 million. Great. So my question is, if we were able to, get everybody here to agree that, on second thought, the Board of Ed should have that extra $1 million. Speaking in very rough terms, if that's acceptable, what kind of impact would that have on MBR? Actually, not MBR, I misspoke, on mill rate.
It's approximately 0.3 of a mil, so you go from 1.6 to 1.9.
Okay.
And then whatever increase that CCM tells us that is in the bill that the mayor just mentioned, so you'll be at 1.9 mils,
Okay. Well,
and possibly more.
Right. Speaking just for myself, this is something that I wanted to bring up tonight at joint board. You know, having been to the Board of Ed budget workshops and having been to the Board of Finance meetings and special meetings, and thinking about this, you know, from a counselor's standpoint, I'm still left to feel like we really, this is just my opinion, I would welcome other people's comments, but my opinion is I feel like we're still sort of morally obligated for the schools at this point to get them up to that 4.1-ish million, 4.2 million that they originally asked us for. And it's unfortunate that we're hearing this tough news about how the state budget could impact us tonight, and that's certainly something to consider. But I would ask the Board of Finance and the City Council to reconsider fully funding the Board of Ed at the level they originally asked us. And maybe we can talk about that some more before the final budget adoption. That's where my head is.
At the workshop, I mean, you can speak your point, but the workshop's going to be how to close the gap between the state budget and what we have. I think the Board of Finance voted 8-1 to accept the budget we have.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also point out that some of the funds that they were now having control could, based on actuals of last year compared to what was budgeted, easily cut into some of that shortfall. And I also feel that if you're going to recommend we fully fund, why stop there? Why not the police department? Why not the fire department? They've all come in and everybody's had to find ways to manage the mill rate.
Sure.
So you can, I'm just going to share that a vote to 8-1 was pretty confident, and the board may change their opinion, and they're welcome to, and that vote will happen on that night.
Any other questions?
Through the chair, I just wanted to support Councilman Brown's proposal, and I guess maybe that's not the best word, but his suggestion, because I do want to say that I think our education budget is important for the value of our community, and I think when we're talking about mill rate increases, there's nothing worth a mill rate increase more than education. I think it is the single most important thing we do that gives our community value. People decide what community to buy homes in based primarily on education, and I think our numbers have been historically way too low, and people see that and it affects our community, and we have to start attracting younger families to Bristol. And we also have to be very mindful of the student-teacher ratio, and class sizes are getting very high in multiple schools across the district, and I just believe that every child deserves the opportunity to excel as best they can, and whether you're a special ed kid or an accelerated student, a college-bound student or not, small class size is the best way for learning to happen and the best way for you to achieve the best success possible. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yes, I'd like to say something in terms of the Board of Finances, the burden we have to bear. Because, you know, I have a 9-year-old daughter, so I understand the whole education value. But I also understand the economics of making sure that our streets are safe, that various areas of the community are safe, that we have a well-funded, strong fire department, our public works is strong, our park department is strong, and somehow or another we have to balance all of those different interests throughout our community, because it isn't just young folks. And by the way, when we do have young folks looking to come into town, we don't want to be burdening them with such an incredibly high mill rate that alone keeps them from being able to afford the housing to live within the town. So there's multiple reasons why people would want to move to this town. But there's also multiple reasons that we need to keep in mind when it's time to fund all of these things. And if we're not giving equal weight right across the board, then there's areas of our community that are unfortunately fall off the cliff, and that's not fair. Nor is it good for the community in general. That's it.
Any other discussion, questions? Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Any other business? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made, second, discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion passes. Council meeting will start in 5 minutes.